What's going on? How are you, Jamie?
Hey, Scott.
Hey.
Hey, Jamie. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Andy. How about
All right.
yourself?
Doing good, doing good. How about that holly today, huh?
Oh, just the epitome of what a statistical model is capable of, especially in light of the market action during that time. I'm getting a little ahead of the presentation
Sure.
here, but yeah, it was just simply phenomenal.
Yes, it was, and we'll talk more about that. Especially want to hit up on it with the new guys, people coming in here, checking out the product for the first time. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to join us, and let's just move forward, get the legal issues out of the way. Just to remind everybody, this is for educational purposes only. Anything you see or hear should not be construed as investment advice. If that's what you're seeking, please seek an IRA or a registered broker, and they will take care of you there. But we are going to go over some cool content, some great alerts, and just a fabulous product. But so let's move on and talk about our support and education here at Trade Ideas. We never let this go by because we were very proud of our training, our support, and our education. We have basically something for every day of the week now that we've added our podcast on Fridays, and they're all in the same time slot. Scott will hit on the podcast as before we exit this webinar today, but I do want to talk about the webinars that we have during the week. We have, like I said, 4 of them in the same time slot, all at the 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's usually a combination of me, Steve, or Jamie. You can see it there on the display there. The trading room. But don't want to leave that out. Okay, that's the live trading room. If you've not been in there, it's free to everybody. You don't have to be a Trade Ideas subscriber. You can go in there, and for basically 7 hours a day, you can watch a very professional trader navigate the market and use our alerts as he does so and profit in the marketplace. And also there's some great traders in there. So really, if you haven't gone in there yet, get in there. It's a great hangout where you get some really good experience. And I speak from experience myself because me and Steve actually used to have a service where I would let people do the same thing, watch over my shoulder as I actually traded the market. Did that for, a good 3 or 4 years, and got really good feedback. So anyway, yeah, it's incredible support and education here, and it doesn't end there. I just want everyone to know, if you do sign up and subscribe to Trade Ideas, you get a free one-on-one hour of power training, we like to call it, and that's either with me, Jamie, or Steve. And also, guys, I'm telling you, I do, geez, it seems like 4 or 5 a week of people who actually paid for more training on top of the free one-on-one. We charge $99. I'm not going to go in that now. I just want to let you guys know it is available out there if you do want more training. But if you subscribe, that $99 value, you get that for free. So take advantage of that. It's a great 1 hour spent learning the software, building alerts, and going into coaching and mentoring. All right, let's look at the agenda today. We're going to talk about the market recap as always. The Holly recap, big performance today on 23 trades. We're going to have a lot to say about that because I think you guys need to be aware, there's been some new strategies added. Incredible performance today. I mean, I think there was on the risk off, there's only like 3 losses out of 23 trades, which is just unbelievable, actually. If we have time, okay, I have what's called a alpha predator pullback alert. It's nothing real new. It's not like a new alert, but I'm going to show you, and I got this from a guy during one of my sessions this week. And I was about to get into it. I'm not going to get into it now because we do want to spend a vast majority of our time, because there's a lot of good trades to go over on the Holly, and we want you to see, how you can trade these things and how you can use Holly to really profit in the marketplace. All right, but with that being said, let me close out of this and pull up my charts here, and let's take a look at the markets and kind of a timely time for this what we call a little what Steve likes to call a washout bounce today in the spiders. Now, it didn't happen all in the first 10 or 15 minutes, but as I zoom in here, you can see this is something to keep your eye on. This is a market that you had a couple of really bad retail numbers out today. Earnings came out pretty bad, a little hot PPI number. The market kind of gapped down this morning. You look at the spiders. Sold off for a good, hour and a half, and there's your low of the market, and then from the rest of the day, just kind of trended higher in the marketplace. So, boy, the bears, they would love to get a hold of this market, but they just can't. And when you see a tail like this and closing near highs, that can be a very strong indicator of a move that could be potentially coming here. Spiders. And also, if you look at the spiders now, you have what's called possible, cup and maybe a handle that will form and go through higher. But anyway, and not only that, you see them in that same pattern in the diamonds. Pretty much, the same thing there. Nice little hammer, big tail. IWM, not as crazy as this one because once again, it's kind of still in its sloppy little range there. But nonetheless, still the hammer in the Qs, which has just been on fire lately. Not far from once again a new time. And that did close on real near highs. So very, very powerful. Something to watch out for the next couple of days. Tomorrow being Friday, you would think we might not see something, but if I remember correctly, we had a nice little rally last Friday. I think would be right here. So don't discount the fact that tomorrow is Friday and we might not see anything. When you get a pattern like this, wow, it can be very, very explosive because the bears tried to push it down, and once again we claimed up close to highs there. So, watch that level. You do kind of have a close, kind of a double top right here for the spiders. Didn't quite get there last time, but keep an eye on that level. But other than that, Jamie, yeah, do you have anything that you might want to add?
No, I think, especially the way the market closed today in this big wick, it would lead me to believe that we're probably just going to have another little, maybe we have an inside day most of the day tomorrow and then pop out at the close. But, somewhere in that general vicinity, unless something big comes out of left field, macroeconomic-wise, which I don't think that's going to happen. Everybody was, there was a little panic in the market today with Snap reporting the prior close and then topping it off with Macy's. But, it's not a big surprise. I mean, anybody that's been listening to our podcast or our webinars in the past have heard us, what our opinions were of the whole Snapchat deal. So to see it kind of play out like we were talking about, no big surprise there. And then Macy's, well, part of a industry that's struggling constantly, it seems. Retail, yeah. Amazon. Hey, there's this company called Amazon where you don't have to go to the store anymore unless you just love trying on clothes, which if you do, more power to you. But things are just changing at such a rapid rate. These old school companies are feeling the pinch. And, it'll be interesting to see how Macy's alters their business plan, so to speak, moving forward.
Yeah, and another one this morning, too, was also Dillard's. Very similar story there, and you could see that dropping all the way down from the 58 range. Massive discount there in market cap, just getting hammered there. So well, retail, Andy, yeah.
When these are the same stores that we were going to when we were kids.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's amazing they've been around for this long, but they're starting to feel the pinch. Nobody's immune from the technological age that we're, gravitating to.
No, exactly. And when you have, Amazon with so much more of a greater weighting than all the other ones, it's hard to pull down, all the averages. Now, I think at some point, if you do start to lose the consumer, which, I'd keep an eye on Amazon to see if their numbers ever start coming down, because then you don't want to lose the consumer, because then things could get kind of ugly. But we'll see what happens. We're not going to get into the fundamental aspects. We're technicians here. So And that's a very impressive move in the
Hey,
spiders there.
while we're on the topic, Andy, I do need to kind of throw this out there. If you compress that the intraday chart just a little bit, bring the intraday over. Yeah, there we go. Now, when we get into the Holly stuff, everybody's going to know and see that most of her action was long today. However, there are plenty of good short opportunities out there today as well, so everybody can see the action on Macy's from the open up there. And the point of this is that in the trading room today, one of Barry's calls was a short on Macy's about 15 minutes into the open. And of course, a lot of people got to follow him along in that trade. So in the trading room today, we had people making lots of long money, and then we had people making good money on several shorts today, of which Macy's was probably, well, for lack of a better term, the prettiest downside chart that I've seen in a while, because, you know, making an entry in that first 15 minutes, getting that nice move, and then how it levels out right there, I mean, that's just a beautiful little consolidation area short.
Right
and,
there.
you know, if you were in the trading room today, you were made aware of that trade. And ladies and gentlemen, the best thing about the trading room is that it's free. Doesn't cost anything. Even if you're not a Trading subscriber as of yet, you can go to the trading room and glean a lot of very useful information. So anyway, hats off to Barry for that short trade today.
Yeah, it was beautiful. You had a gap down, and once again, once again, we talk about looking left on the strong plays when they're breaking out. Same thing here. Gap below this level of resistance, you had your gap and go to the downside, just the opposite of what you see when you gap above all resistance. You gap below support, and that's all there was today. Just beautiful. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you got NVIDIA, which a gap and go yesterday, and then continuation today. So very two opposite ships passing in the night, going one direction and the other going. But let's go into Holly. And before I turn it over I just want to talk a little bit. I know we have some new people in there. Just kind of give them a basic little prelude in before we go into all the individual trades. What we do, we're equipped, or Holly is equipped with about 45 strategies. She takes these strategies at the close of each day, and she immediately starts back testing them with today's data. And this is a continuing thing each day. She has more data to put into the hopper and back test it, over and over, running through different scenarios, all the filter sets, and she will spend probably a good 6-7 hours doing this before she releases the next morning the ones that we say make the cut. Well, when we woke up this morning, or if you were up late at night, you saw them late at night, these are the strategies that came to play today. These are the ones that made the cut based on all of her filter sets, her back testing and optimization the night before. So we had 3 short strategies and we had 5 long strategies. Not a lot of strategies, but we have been seeing a little more shorts come into play. So maybe something, Steve mentioned it the other day, keep an eye out if you start seeing more and more short strategies come in. And like Jamie was just saying, there's opportunity, and we're going to show you in Holly, there was still opportunity today on the short side and the long side. Obviously, the long side was dominant in her selection and outperformed tremendously, but doesn't mean that there still can't be some opportunity to the short side, just like Barry found it in Macy's today, and if you were playing Dillard's. But anyway, I just want to go over some of these numbers, guys, before he starts taking them and breaking them down. This is just, this wake-up call. This came in this morning with a 56% winning percentage and a 2 profit factor. Very good. Very, very good, but nothing like you're seeing up here with sold to you that came in at 74 and 4. But look what the wake-up call did today. 13 trades. The winning percentage today was almost 85%. Okay, with a risk-on profit of $2.12, risk-off at $1.86. And I think what you're going to see today, Another one, let's see, a new one that just came out today, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that first word there. I think it's a Russian word. I think Jamie looked it up, and it's a Russian word. But 3 trades a day, 66% winning percentage, risk on 28%. I'm sorry, 28 cents, but these were smaller price stocks. But anyway, the majority of them were wake-up calls. But I want to talk more about these winning percentages we saw today, because you look at risk on profit and risk off profit as well. But before I show you this, risk off was 287. So that's taking Holly's every exit that she exits. She has exit reasons she gets out, either target hit, stop hit, profit save, reduce risk. She is set with parameters that will get her out of a trade for various reasons. So if you take every one of those exits that she takes, you still made $2.87 just if you bought 1 share of each, each symbol she called out. You bought 1,000 shares, you made $2,087, $2,870. That's right. So you just add zeros, basically, is what you do. So, but anyway, incredible. She had, from these trades today, if you look at the risk off profit, that's if taking her exits out of the 23 trades, she only had 1, 2, 3 losing trades out of 20, and she had 20 winning trades. That is the kind of numbers, guys, that you're not going to see too many traders do in one day, and not too many. I don't know of any algos that can do that right now. I think we're probably the only one that can put up those kind of results. But very impressive today by Holly. I know you guys may get tired of us pounding our chest, but there were some great calls today. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to Jamie so he can kind of go over a few trades. Okay, Jim, real quick again, risk off. Okay, Holly has risk off and she has risk on. Basically, Holly can get out for whatever reason, whether she may be a time stop, like this one right here, the bullish trend change, AL. She got out because she was optimized at a time stop to get out for a winner of 38 cents. Now, if you had held the trade to the close, the risk on profit would have been 72 cents. So in essence, if you take every Holly exit, when she does, that is what risk off is. But I want to point out today, because some people may argue, it's like, well, the market really didn't go anywhere. It's pretty much flat at the end of the day. But let's take a look at when Holly started firing off trades. So we're going to take a look at the trades here and sort it by entry time. All right. Holly started firing off trades 30 minutes after the market opened. I'm on Central Time. So you got 9, 9, 12, 25. It started heating up here around the 9, 25, 28. She started going more and more long, 940. You can see the longs. Well, let's see where the market was when she was firing off these trades. So
right.
Here's the market open.
This is pretty big right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude, it's very big. So basically, you had the market open and selling off for, 30 minutes before Holly fires off her first trade right here. And then you have another downturn, okay? And once again, Holly, being very patient, starts firing off more longs. Now, she did have one short in there, and this was kind of an anomaly. It's actually a brand new issue. So this one was kind of, if you look at the daily there, was kind of an anomaly there. You don't see that very often. But nonetheless, she had one short out of about, let's say, what, 12, 13, maybe.
Total.
Well, yeah, but I'm just counting the early morning. Early morning, she probably had a dozen longs and one short. Well, yeah, going back to the spiders, she started putting these on, pretty close to the lows. A lot of these were done right in this time frame right here, which should have been, a lot of time we talked this about what's the bias, not sector bias, the directional bias. So we had a big sell-off, and then all of a sudden Holly starts firing off longs, okay, which tells you these setups that she optimized and back tested the night before were starting to come into fruition. We're starting to form these setups. So Holly starts putting in longs during this time, okay? If you're not thinking, wow, there's a good chance this market may bounce, something is wrong with you, because Holly is telling you, you know, based on her back testing, and she is equipped with several shorts, that, hey, I'm seeing long opportunity here. So what happens after that? Yeah, you basically get a market that rallies for the rest of the day. So one could argue that a lot of these trades should have been in risk on mode, because from where she started entering them, the market did nothing but go higher. So this is what we want you to kind of keep in the back of your mind. We're not doing this to say, oh, you know, great, Holly had a great risk on day. No, we're putting this for you so you can look at each trade and ask yourself, when you're looking at something like a, what was that one I was just looking at that she got a time stop on? With this one right here, AL. When you're entering AL where she did, okay, and then you see her time stop out for an exit reason, which basically means she was optimized the night before that this would be the optimal time to exit. But what Holly doesn't know is the market going to be going in your favor? In this case, we had a market that kept trending higher. So even though she exited at 35.94, which would have been, no, I'm sorry, that was exit price 35.60, which would have been right here for no reason at all. The market is still trending. You might say to yourself, Holly's getting out, but I really like this trade. The market's going in my favor. We've taken out the prior day's high right here on the daily. Okay, right after we just did it, right when she got out. So she got out on a time stop right when the stock's taking out the prior day's high. So this is where we give you this risk on versus risk off. So for those of you who did exit right here where Holly did, you can look back at the end of the day and say, wow, if I would have stayed in risk on mode, I could have made an additional whatever that is. I'm not going to calculate it, but basically almost doubled your profits. Basically, is what you did from the trade, 38 cents versus 72 cents. So that's why we like to give you risk on profits, so you can go and do your homework and you can study and see, hey, if I'd have held on to this trade, you know, what could I have done with it? So, but it's a good way, you know, to gauge, you know, how well you're getting out on your exits, because Holly will continue to calculate it even throughout the day. This risk on column doesn't wait till the end of the day just to show you this. It continues to calculate in real time as the stock moves in your favor. So you will know. But was that explaining that clear enough there, Jamie?
Yeah, I think so. I think some people are still a little confused out there about risk on and risk off, but hey, that's normal.
Okay.
It is a little confusing at first, and I'll be happy to go over it again whenever you're ready to pass the baton. Okay. Andy?
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe they need a different perspective. So why don't you go ahead and...
By all means, continue with what you're doing. We can always flip it over to me when you're ready. No rush.
Well, okay, I'll explain this. Let me explain it this way. Okay, there's 5 possible exits for Holly to get out of the trade. And we may have them all 5 right here. There can be a time stop. There can be a profit hit. I think I saw that somewhere. Profit hit right there. So she reached her target. Okay, there can be a profit save. Well, now what a profit save does, okay, it is basically kind of like a trailing stop. Okay, if Holly gets so much profit in a trade, we've equipped her with an algo that if she gives up a certain portion of that profit, she will exit and call it profit save. Okay. Same reduced risk is a 4th one. Okay, reduced risk is pretty similar to profit save, except it's just the opposite. Okay, if a trade is going against her and she feels like it has had time to work, and for whatever reason, okay, she gets out for what's called reduced risk. Remember, she's optimized these strategies, and they're optimized to, I think, probably to react at a certain time frame. And if it doesn't do, it's kind of like the trader says, if this stock doesn't do what I think it should do right here, I'm getting out early. And so that's kind of what she does. It's reduced risk, basically. So in other words, instead of taking the stock all the way to the stop price, okay, she gets out for reduced risk. So if you exit for all of her reasons that she gets out on, that is what we call risk off, okay? So if you would have been
Right,
playing 1,000 shares on every one of her
Holly's sticking to her rule set, that's risk off, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're taking the same rule set as Holly is and getting out when she gets out on every trade. That's the profit 287.
Right,
If
so everybody
you were,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
No, anytime, man, no, anytime.
So what I was just going to say, to simplify things, you're in a trade with Holly. You see Holly getting out. You acknowledge that. But then you look at the chart and you go, well, I see Holly getting out, but I think this thing is going higher. Therefore, I'm not going to get out with Holly. I'm going to stay in the position. Of course, I'm going to exercise, some good risk management in case it starts to go against me. But I think I can get more out of this trade than Holly does, or Holly did. And that's you deciding to go risk on a trade-by-trade basis. Holly's always going to go risk off. She's always going to obey her rule set. But if you think the trade has a little bit more in it, and you make more than her, that's you going risk on a per-trade basis.
Precisely. We're not trying to say you're either going to take every trade and you're going to get out when she does it, risk off, or you're going to take every trade and get out on risk on and hold it to the final print of the day. No, what we're saying is we're giving you a tool where you can use that will help you engaging, what would have happened had I held this trade till the end of the day. So in other words, on this AI, she gets out. This is where your common sense trading expertise comes into play. The stock just took out a prior day high and she gets out at 360 as the market. So even if you told yourself, wow, you know what, this just took out a prior day's high, I'm going to at least hold on to a 5-minute bar reversal. If you did that, you still would have held it all the way till right here, So we're just kind of trying to give you a tool that will help you gauge, how much you would have made had you held on to the trade. And so maybe in future trades, you may say to yourself, hey, I've seen this setup, and I remember Holly, got out on a risk off for whatever reason, time's up. I'm going to stick with this one because I've learned through experience because of her risk on column, that I'm going to hold on to this and risk a little to make a lot more. So I hope that's cleared it up because we probably may be making it more complicated than what it is, but it's very simple. Risk off is getting out on Holly exits. Risk on is holding the trade throughout the whole day. All right, Jamie. Well, any other questions you want me to hit on out there? We can.
I think we're caught up. Like I said, most of the questions are coming about risk off, risk on. But okay. I think we're caught up right now.
All right. If you want to just kind of take over and hit on a couple of trades and, 2 or 3, whatever you want to highlight. There's a lot of them, and I'll be, trust me, I have a couple too that I'll want to chat more about too as well. So
and please, by all means, interrupt me if needed. Otherwise, let me find the right button here. Bear with me one second.
Frank. That's okay. I'll answer Frank's question while you're doing that. Yes, Frank. As of now, Holly exits every trade throughout the day.
Okay, so Andy, just let me know if you're seeing the right desktop here.
I am. You have it on.
Well, it should be
now it's on nothing. There we go. Got it.
Okay, you got my charts now?
I do.
Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gents. Just a technical difficulty. Okay. All right, so you've already got a little, Andy already showed you guys the strategy panel. Obviously, these were the strategies strategies that showed up for the party today. What do we have? 8 strategies. 5 of them were long. We had the 3 shorts. But let's look at some of the big winners today. And of course, we never hide the losers either. Whether I sort by risk on here, well, here are the losers. Not too shabby. Sort by risk off. Here are the losers as well. So just to recap one more time here, this P&L right here, risk off, this is Holly obeying her rules, just like any trader would obey their rules. Of course, sometimes we slip up and don't. Holly is not afforded that luxury because guess what? She's a program. She does exactly what she's told to do. So now let's take a look at going risk on, specifically looking at this MTLS trade today in the chart on the 5-minute. So Holly's entry was right here. By the way, that's just all kinds of beautiful on the entry here, because not only do we have statistical weight behind the entry signal, well, what would that statistical weight have been today? Well, strategy was wake-up call that triggered MTLS at this time, which is, everybody, I'm on Pacific Standard Time, so, you know, just add 3 hours for Eastern Time. So here's the entry, and boom, this one's just off to the races. So the wake-up call strategy, we knew coming into the session today, weighted at 56.2%. So anything that comes out of that guy today has a 56.2% chance of working according to Holly's analysis and backtesting and optimization using at least 40 trading days of analysis. Now, this little guy spit out 13 trades today and came in at 84.6% success. Wow. Truly amazing. Now, we always like to say that everything that comes out has statistical weight, as you can see here. We like to, reiterate that over and over because it's pretty big. Most people aren't applying statistical probability to any aspect of their trading program or game or whatever you'd like to call it. Now, when we see a pattern like this, and of course, the more time you spend in the chair, the more these things will jump out at you. Just takes a little repetition. So we see Holly getting long right here. We've got nice statistical weight behind it. And then on top of that, we see what's happening here, which is really a range break had just occurred as Holly was calling it. So we can take that as well and go, I don't know about you guys, but this is one of my favorite patterns because of its simplicity. So when we have a pattern like this emerging and the AI just called it out and we have statistical weight behind it, that's a pretty good indication that things might work out. And sometimes we can stack 2 or 3 of those positive attributes on top of a Holly trade, but there's just one here. Now, MTLS usually doesn't do a whole lot of volume, but today it sure did. I think we did, there's plenty of shares out there, almost trading 400,000 shares for people to get all kinds of fills in, even if you're doing larger, multiple thousand share blocks. So off to the races, we can see that Holly, this one, she never got nervous, never got out, and we can see that the target was hit. This strategy has a $1 profit target, and we can see that's the reason that Holly got out. And of course, let's see here, 878.56. So where's my 9 o'clock bar? I mean, what a nice exit, I must say, right here. So, a lot of people probably might have been thinking, well, should I get out with Holly now? Or should I get out of half and try to hold the other half for, some more profit? Well, a good thing to always do, and you hear Andy say this, and you hear Steve say this, and you even hear me say this, is once we're in the trade, or once we're deciding whether or not we're even going to take the trade with Holly, what's the upside? Once we're in the trade, well, I sure would hate to get out too early and then there was more meat left on this bone here. Well, when we're looking to the left here on MTLS, where's the place that's going to bump its head into? Well, if we go way back, it's encroaching. It's not out yet. This little guy's not out of his box yet, but it doesn't have too much further to go back, and that's about as far as I can compress my chart here. But, you know, the further back as well doesn't really matter. If we don't see anything here to bump our heads on, well, on an intraday entry, a lot of the times that can tell us, should I be going risk off and accepting a little bit more risk for a little bit more? In this case, it would have panned out nicely. Now, another thing to point out here is maybe we double dipped. Maybe we were in a couple of hundred here and we're like, man, that was a great trade. You know, this wick, Holly's getting out. I'm also seeing this wick. I'm going to go ahead and take my profit too. But notice what happens up here. We form another little shelf, another little range. Then we take a little pullback, and this is very common. Stocks do this all the time. And then we slowly encroach on that breakout level again. So you could have been over and done with here, and when you see this little base building here and this down trickle, it's always a good idea on these Holly plays. Go ahead and set a price alert. Say, hey, I want to know when it goes back through that level because this thing might have some more steam in it. And of course, in this one today, coils up nice and tight just below that plane, and then boom, right here. And on these entries right here, why they're so attractive is, well, this tells us something. This little consolidation, we know there's a buyer in it already. Stock's got to take a breather. Can't just go up all the time. Now it forms this nice, takes a nice little nap here. And if we set our price alert, we get the alert right here, we can participate for another run. So a lot of the times, and I've told this technique to people, whether it's in the webinars or in training sessions with individuals, look, if you're really having a hard time getting your mind wrapped around the risk on, risk off thing, get in the practice of whatever share size you're in, whether it be 100, 200, 50 shares, whatever. When you're in a trade with Holly and you see her getting out, go ahead and clip half of it right there. Then if the chart looks conducive, try to hold the other half for more using reasonable stop loss practices. Like, okay, on the second lot, I will set a stop loss for break even. So I won't lose money on this lot. I've already booked my profit on the first lot. And so if you go about that methodology, it gets you in a really good habit. And then eventually, you probably will stop getting out of half with Holly and making your own decision about whether this chart looks conducive enough to stay in for risk on or risk off. All right, so that's just one example. I feel like I spent too much time on that, but I mean it's a classic example of seeing another positive factor on top of a Holly play in the form of the intraday chart pattern range break.
Mm-hmm. And then a confirmation with the daily chart on that one too as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Andy, this is like, this chart right here just makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, once again, this is that little pattern, this little flattening out pattern. Of course, it just started, but we can see clearly what's been happening for the day. You know, comes down here, finds its bottom, slowly takes the escalator back up. And by the way, stocks typically take the escalator up. And then, of course, when things change later on, no matter, you know, who knows how long that'll be down the line, 80, we'll see all the stocks come down in the elevator. Stocks typically just go down a lot faster than they go up. But in any case, here's the Holly entry right here. We buy it. We take a little wiggle around the entry area, and then, boom, just up again. A nice little up bar, and then a little top put in again. And we can keep doing this. And with these types of patterns, the earlier you can identify the buyer, the more times you'll have for additional entries. Now, time kind of ran out on this little guy today, but sometimes these happen very early. So if you can get in the habit of identifying the stocks with the buyers in them, whether they come to you through Holly or one of your other customized windows that you're watching through TI Pro, you know, just drawing some horizontal lines here can become very powerful. And in other words, we're setting up our own, what we perceive to be our own little pivot lines for each and every stock, and we can do this on the intraday. And then, of course, we can always look to the daily to see what kind of day this stock's been having. And of course, Andy, I mean, tell me if you agree with me on this one, but, you know, once we're off the bottom here and Holly is signaling here, and we see this nice little tail that's been put in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's that little red-green with the long tail there. Of course, a lot of people wait for the next day to close, you know, I think what you call the setup bar a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there are a lot of correlations, or there's a lot of affirmations that we can look at, whether it's looking at the daily or is it exhibiting one of our favorite intraday patterns along with the statistical weight that Holly's bringing to the table. And in the case of AL, on the bullish trend change, we were looking at 62.7% right off the bat. And let me say a little bit about 62.7%, because in a statistical model, you only have to have slightly better than 50% to have a successful model, but the lower your percentage win, the bigger your gain has to be as opposed to your average loser. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, well, is that really enough? Well, I'm probably pretty sure that everybody's been to a casino maybe once or twice, and they have this game in there called roulette. And it has all the numbers and the zero, and you can bet on black or red or odd or even. So everybody's like, I've got a 50-50 chance of winning. I'm saying black or red or odd or even. No, not the case. There's a little thing on the wheel also called a double zero that they had to add in there so that you would not have a 50% chance of success. If they took double zero off the wheel, the game would go away, because the house knows all they need is like slightly over 50% to win in the long term. So when you see a model like Holly today turning in 84.6 for that strategy, 66. Of course, these are smaller trade counts, one trade in 100, and then of course one trade in 0 because they lost. But it's not easy building a model that does this. We've been working on it for, what is it, 17 months? Is Holly 17 months old now, I think, Andy?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere right around there.
Right around there.
You know, we keep improving, and we've got some more improvements coming down the pipeline. I'm not supposed to talk about them just yet, at risk of being flogged by the developers. But we're coming out with a bunch of new stuff, a lot of enhancements to Holly, a lot of enhancements to the product in general. So just keep tuned. Of course, with Holly
Jamie,
something like this, why would you not?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure there. You know, I saw a comment from somebody saying, you know, there's a lot of like small winners in there, but guys, what I want you to focus on some of those small winners. Some of those small winners are great percentage winners.
Right.
So
Check
yeah. So pull up ABEO. You know, I thought this was a very beautiful call there as it broke out above that 605 kind of range. It took out the high going back to the first of the month, that wick. On volume, you can see the volume bar there. It's the biggest volume bar of the day on the 5-minute chart. And you had a nice, she got out for a 23-cent winner. Well, that 23-cent winner happens to be almost a 4% winner, you know, on a profit percentage category. So don't discount them. You are going to see some, you know, some smaller stocks coming through, and you cannot always focus on the penny gains. You know, 9 cents, 11 cents, 20 cents.
Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah,
Andy.
you got to factor in the percentage gain and size accordingly. And another one was fuel. Look at fuel. You know, I thought that was another good call. Now, technically, you know, once again, this is where you have to rely on the Holly backtesting, the optimization. If you're looking at that daily chart, you're like, wow, that just had a big gap down and sell off yesterday. I don't know that I'm, you know, going to trade this. But if you look at the 5-minute chart and you understand the winning percentage and the profit factor from Holly's results the night before, you know, it's, I don't, you know, I don't argue. And now, trust me, I like it a lot better when it sets up technically on the chart. But the point I'm bringing up fuel is it doesn't look like much because it's 11-cent winner, but it's all, once again, it's a 3.37 profit percentage winner, which is great for intraday trading. So, and that did that did almost 3 million shares a day. So there's plenty of opportunity to grab size if you wanted to grab size in that one. But that's the thing I want you guys to focus on when you start seeing these 11 cents and 9 cents. What's the profit percentage? In other words, what's the stock trading at? You're not going to buy, you might buy 100 shares of AL, or may short 100 shares of MZOR, that short one that she had today. But if you're playing fuel, you're not going to be doing 100 shares. You need to size accordingly to the price of the stock if you want to really get that alpha.
Okay, so we had a guy asking could you explain what triggered fuel today? We certainly can. Fuel was triggered by the strategy that we see right here. Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse came in the day at 61.4%. There's fuel. There's the strategy that triggered it. Mighty Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so once again, Richard, risk off is Holly simply obeying her rules. In other words, when we trade, when we make an entry, we have our stop loss, we have our profit target maybe. And if one of those things gets hit, trade's over. That's what Holly risk off is. Holly obeying her stop losses, profit targets, time holds. And then she also has the ability to exercise reduced risk, get out of a loser earlier. Or the other one is the profit save. If she feels that the stock is getting a little, she's been in the trade for a while and maybe the stock's getting a little bit volatile, she can go ahead and get out before her timed hold or her profit target or her stop loss is hit.
And Jamie, can I add something to fuel here? This is very important, and probably this is probably one of the main reasons why it triggered. If you look at fuel now, if you look on his single stock window and look at the volume in the 5-minute as it was breaking out through highs, remember the blue arrow denotes, and where he clicked on it, that denotes the time the alert went off. And when the alert went off, it was doing almost 4 times normal volume. So not only was it going through highs, it was doing it on very impressive 5-minute volume. So more than likely that strategy is equipped with a volume filter, and that's why that alert went off when it did. Had it done that and only been doing maybe 100 times or normal volume or a little bit less, probably wouldn't have gone off. That's Holly sniffing out alpha. But,
Indeed. And the whole thing about the statistical model is a lot of the time people are uncomfortable with it because they're like, oh, the chart just looks, I can't buy this, right? And that's why the perfect example today was Holly. Holly started putting on positions right here when most people were probably like deer in the headlights. If you didn't just punch into some shorts and enjoy the ride, of course, we all know it's not as simple as that because the open's pretty hairy. But in any case, during this downturn, most people are deer in the headlights going, well, yeah, what do I do? Maybe they're trying to get short, or maybe they're trying to get long. Who knows? But I can guarantee you this, whether we look at Holly's P&L curve for the day, this is risk on right here. So if she was holding all these positions to the close, she's up 4.44, 4 points and 44 cents. But obeying all of her in her most conservative mode, still up 287. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody else, not that anybody else is really plotting their P&L in this capacity, but that's why we designed this window, is because this tells us something, right? A lot of the times it's green, red, and then it'll catch green. Sometimes Holly loses, it'll be red, green, and then she'll go underwater and just never really recover. But that's all I guess a factor of how much statistical viability is out there versus statistical noise. So if every trader out there today plotted their P&L progress on a graph, I would have to say that it would not look anything like what we're seeing right here, because it was just off to the races on a day where there was a lot of fear and uncertainty in the market, with Snapchat crapping out, Macy's and Dillard's, reporting poor earnings or whatever. So while there was this perception of weakness in the market today, the AI is going to cut through all the noise quicker than we can because we're emotional beings. You know, that's part of that's the thing that gets most people in trading is their emotions, which lead to bad decision making, which lead to account evaporating. So with the statistical model, you know, it's not some magic machine. It's just good old-fashioned statistics applied in the proper way.
Correct. And once again, we know you cannot, you know, no one's going to be able to catch every trade, especially if you're just trading manually, you know, and not auto trading, which you can't even do now yet anyway. But this is idea generation. It's statistically weighted, you know, casino odds type idea generation. Someone made a comment, so this is if the orders got filled scenario. I will be the first to admit, yeah, there's some orders where you're not going to get Holly's price. Maybe you have to pay up 2 or 3 cents higher. But I've seen plenty of scenarios where you could have gotten a better price than Holly. So that cuts both ways, and especially in some of her fading strategies. You can get, in many cases, get a much better price. But yeah, just, I mean, you know, if you see a really fast mover and Holly got the entry, and yeah, I'm not saying you know you're going to get every fill she does, but at the same time, I've seen it work in the trader's favor a lot of times. So you know, just to stand up for the technology, because I think sometimes it's a cop out for people, because yeah, you can get them. You can get a vast majority of her trades for sure.
Right, and you know, we take that into consideration when we're fabricating the base strategies, which have, you know, thousands and thousands of trades, of which Holly then pairs down, and if she finds something good, then that strategy shows up to the party the next day. But overall, it was a great example. Today was one of the best examples I've seen today of actually, you know, loading up those trades kind of when everybody else was trying to figure out what to do, right? And so, you know, Holly can also be the canary in the coal mine. If you see her struggling in the first couple hours of the day or the first hour, then a lot of the times that tells us how to conduct ourselves trading. Should we be more aggressive? Should we be, you know, keep our powder dry and be very, very selective? Because if this statistical model is having such a hard time, well, you know, that definitely means something.
Very good point. Very good point, Jamie. Let's see. Yeah, there's many days where you pull it up and you see the first hour is just kind of back and forth on the chart there, and that's where you might want to just back off and just say, you know what, I'm not seeing it. Holly's not seeing any advantage right now. What makes me think that I am? So, yeah, this could be a great indicator of you know, when to sit on your hands and when to press it up.
Yeah, she's just a great teacher, you know. It's a person sitting next to you trading with statistical probability. And you can see what happens, and if the waves aren't coming in, if they're only coming in at 1 foot, Holly's still going to be jumping out there trying to ride them, and you're like, well, good luck. But that's also, you know, but you're also observing her having a hard time, so you're like, well, I'm not going to go out there and waste my energy. I'm going to wait for the next set or wait for the next day with some bigger waves.
Where can I see Holly statistics? 1 month. If you will send, somebody wants to see Holly's statistics 1 month, we can share with you like a graph. We have a graph of her. We don't have everything broken down. I can, let me see, let me get that article for you that we put out last year. I think that's probably the best thing to give you.
You can drop that in the chat area, Andy?
Yeah, I sure will.
Yeah,
let me see if
good idea.
And while I'm doing this, somebody brought up, and I'm glad you did, Richard, because I made a comment in our our chat with all the guys here when Holly did fire off Nugget today. You know, I said, oh, Holly's getting brave, you know, shorting Nugget. But you know what? I love the strategy. That's a new strategy, and that's the first one I've seen, and it's going to be another fading short strategy. I think you're going to find that one really work very well. but it probably snuck through without us putting an ETF filter on there. So that nugget, yeah, and smartly, Richard said he avoided that short, and I can see why. It was the strongest sector on the board. So let me see. There we go. All right, I will bring this in, and then I will. I guess if you want to pull up the, you don't need to pass it back over to me. Can you pull up the, while I'm dropping this in here, if you want to pull up the display thing?
Yeah, the display.
What do you call that thing?
Call the browser with.
Okay, there you go. I was trying to work with my chat here and drop this in. I can't think and do things like this at the same time. Okay, that's a good little article on Holly, guy. Dropped into the chat window there in your go-to meeting toolbar area. But
okay, so did you want me to navigate to a particular slide here?
Well, no, yeah, if you just want to navigate to the Brokerage Plus, I think now's the time. We're about time to end, and we can bring, and that way we can bring a Scott in. I think he has a little special for you guys today. So.
Yeah, thanks. First, just to mention Brokerage Plus, we still have that the Brokerage Plus for interactive brokers in beta, and you can download version 4.0.122 at trade-ideas.com/beta if you're an interactive brokerage client. For help setting up, if there's a video in the YouTube page, just search for the Brokerage Plus on the YouTube channel we have, or you can contact info@trade-ideas.com if you have any difficulty connecting your IB account. We'll be happy to assist you with that. We're looking for more beta testers. So if you're an interactive brokerage client, get that new build, connect Brokerage Plus with your IB account, contact support if you have any difficulty. We'd like to have you trying it out. We also have a podcast. I think that's probably the next slide. Just want to encourage everyone, hey, we've got a new podcast, and it's been out since December. Every week on Fridays, we release a new one. Most Fridays. I don't think we've missed any more than one that was a holiday. And tomorrow we're going to have a special guest. Chris Reed, president of Ascend Trading, is going to talk with Dan Merkin, our CEO. They're going to have a nice conversation. We had a great webinar with Chris from Ascend about 2 weeks ago. That got a lot of great response, and we're happy to have him back. He'll be in tomorrow's webinar. So find the Trade Ideas podcast in your favorite app and subscribe to it so you get that as soon as it hits the RSS feeds. We'll also announce it on email, so you can always get it that way, but it's so much easier to listen to it on your iPhone or Android phone or your tablet than it is on the computer. So go ahead and subscribe. Love to see the support. We also have a promotional code that'll give you a discount. It's good this month. May Holly, all caps. It is case sensitive. We'll save you 15% off either standard or premium. Remember, premium is where Holly and the advanced features reside, but both premium and standard include a full hour of one-on-one training with Andy or Jamie or Steve. So once you become a subscriber, first learn the software a little bit before you go ahead and schedule your hour of training, because once you figure out what questions you want to ask, it's a lot more productive. So we always recommend going to the trading room as soon as you become a subscriber, and also watching our videos. And then once you know what you want to, once you have some lists of questions, go directly to the support page, click on training, and schedule your support with Andy, Jamie, or Steve. And it's the best concierge onboarding. We do recommend that you try to use the software a little bit first, but try to get in your first month of membership to get that training so that you get the most out of your layouts, setups, scans, and how to use Holly, all that kind of good stuff. Also come to our webinars. So next week, just those of you that are here will know in advance, we're not going to have the Trade of the Week webinar on Tuesday. Both Steve and I are traveling, so but the other webinars that week will be on time. So Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday webinars, the office hours, the Q&A session, and the trading studio next week will occur at the normal times. So thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Andy. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll try to have the recording up tonight, and you get an email reminder tomorrow. And, if you have any questions, send us an email, info@trade-ideas.com. Follow Jamie at QuantBot on Twitter, and Steve Gomez at Today Trader. Dan Merkin is at Trade Ideas 1. And, of course, we're Trade Ideas Pro on Facebook. So find the page, like it, and share our content. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.